Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Off the Donut. Today we're joined with Quiet Commotion. You can say hi if you want to.
Hello.
Quiet Commotion is an alternative bedroom pop singer-songwriter based out of Sweden, crafting laid-back tunage that exudes an almost immediate sense of calm upon the listener, conjuring imagery of the countryside, cigarette smoke in the rain, and biking in the summer. They released their second album, All Other Strange, on March 4th, 2022, on all streaming platforms, and they're available on cassette tape on their Bandcamp page. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
That's good. So we always start off with a bev and a snack check. I've failed once again for the snack. I just have some water with me. I know it's a little boring, but
Actually, I messed up too. I only have water, but that's fine.
It's okay. I think if you're gonna have anything, that's probably the better thing to have.
Yeah.
So I always like to start off by asking artists where their name came from. So I'd like to do the same for you. I realized after listening to the album a couple times that I think the term quiet commotion makes a lot of sense in the context of the overall sound of your music. So I'd just like to know if that was intentional or if there was another reason for the name.
Yeah, it's really just like a name I came up with because before I was making music as Quiet Commotion, I made music and I made 2 albums under another name.
Okay.
And when I was making the first Quiet Commotion album, I felt like it was a lot better. So I wanted a new name, and I came up with Quiet Commotion because I think, as you said, it sort of fits with the music.
Cool. Yeah, I think I don't know. There's a lot of power in silence and just in the idea of quiet, and just with those 2 words, I think it makes sense because there is like a lot of emotion there, but it's also like it doesn't pour out all the way. It's like a little reserved, which I think is cool.
Yeah, and also it's like a lot of it is sort of like quiet, folky songs. So like.
Yeah. Cool. So you've cited All Other Strange as mainly being inspired by Cat Powers and Elliot Smith. I also heard a lot of vocal similarities between Sufjan Stevens and the microphones. Again, that review that you sent me where the person, they said they liked it more than the glow part too. That made me fucking die. So what about these artists spoke out to you the most? What about their music or sound? Do you think you were trying to capture in the album or even just in individual songs?
When I was making this album, it was like out of those 4 artists that you mentioned and that I mentioned, I love all of them, but it's really only Cat Power that I was listening to while making it.
Okay.
I was because like when I was making this album, I was listening more to like I was listening to a lot of grouper and like ambient, like noisy ambient music and slowcore stuff. But like Sufjan Stevens and Elliot Smith are like 2 of my favorite artists ever, and Elliot Smith is my favorite artist, and so even though I wasn't like listening that much to him, it's still like a very like his influence is very like omnipresent in my music.
Yeah.
And I love the microphones as well, of course. It's like
yeah, a lot of their I could hear a lot of their stuff in like some of the harmonies that you were using.
Yeah, I really love the microphones of and that like that review where it was just some guy who was like I liked it more than Glow Part 2. It's like I mean it's like it's really ridiculous, but it's also like fun to like put in emails when I mail it around because it's like it's such a like I mean I can see how someone might get like a bit annoyed by it, but it's also sort of funny because like such a ridiculous one-liner.
Was that the only thing like in the review, or was there more to it?
I think
Okay.
it just said uh like a good album, Bug Zapper is a good song, and then I liked it more than part two, and that's it. I think that was really funny.
That is really funny. Like I said, like low key, I kind of agree with them. I think because it's like more digestible. I think because the Glow Part Two is like really fucking long.
Yeah.
You know. um, were there? Can you think of any other artists who you think might have like had an influence on the record? I know that you said you were listening to them primarily, but
Mm.
maybe just like here or there.
Um, I was, I mean, I think Grouper, it, like, sort of, maybe not in a very obvious way, but she definitely, like, her music influenced um, the album a lot. And then also, one of my, um, I have a friend from Italy who made an EP called Majorette. Um, he makes music as Dafon, and he writes a lot of music. In his music, he like sorry, I need to rephrase my sentence. His music is like his chords are often like he uses dissonance and sort of strange chords and strange melodies
Mm,
to like make very pretty songs. And especially like in the beginning when I was like first recording the first few songs for the album,
mhm.
I was thinking a lot about his style of songwriting and sort of doing that. And I think you can tell in like the first song, Sun Leaves, is like the chords are like really stupid, but it's like I like them. And I think that was inspired by him.
Cool, very cool. So sort of speaking of Bug Zapper, it has a very defeated, sort of complacent feeling to it in the lyrics. At least that's what I got from it. As well as at the end, it has an excerpt from Mitch Albom's 2003 novel, "The Five People You Meet in Heaven." It's a little hard to hear in the song itself, and having not read it myself, I'm not sure what actually is said there. So, would you mind explaining sort of generally what the passage is talking about, and either how or why you think it relates to the rest of the song?
Yeah, it's so it's like the excerpt that I read in the song is it's from
Oh,
like
so you read that?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I picked a part from the book and then I read it in the song. And
Okay.
it's like it's a story about a story about this man who so it's like it takes place in like the early 1900s, late 1800s, and it's a story
Mhm.
about a man who like he um he had some sort of illness and he got treated uh with I think it was like silver nitrate or something, which is like
Mhm.
poisonous and turns your skin blue. um
Nice.
yeah, I know. But like so he just sort of kept taking the medicine, and eventually his skin was like completely blue. and and he obviously felt like very sort of uh isolated or like an outcast. um
Mhm.
and then one day he was approached by like some people from a human circus. So like these capitalists working for this human circus, and they approached him and asked if he wanted to be in the circus, and he said yes. And and um and then at the end there is a quote that I found was very powerful, and that's what you hear in the last part of the song, where it's like uh the manager once called me the best freak in a stable, and as sad as it sounds, I took pride in that.
Mhm.
um so so that's like the story that I'm reading, and I hope it's fictional. But I don't know, maybe something similar has happened. But the sort of it's I picked it because it's sort of, obviously it's like very it's sort of bizarre, I guess, and sort of
Mhm.
um over exaggerated. Like it's nothing that directly relates to my life, but it's still sort of, I guess, it was very powerful because it's like this story about someone who was just completely uh thrown to the side, uh
Mm.
and then sort of taken advantage of, uh and I don't know, I thought it was a very, very powerful story, and that sort of feeling of isolation and alienation sort of spoke to me, so
Mm.
I put it in the song.
Cool. Yeah, that's nice. Um, I might actually read that. That sounds
Hmm.
pretty cool.
It's a
Um,
really good book.
yeah, I was looking at it a little bit yesterday or the other day when I was writing these questions and everything. It seems cool.
Yeah.
Um, so the middle album, excuse me, the middle of the album comes to a little bit of a peak, with "I Don't Speak" and "Speak to Me," which are parts 1 and 2 respectively. Part 1 has the narrator saying the phrase "speak to me" with a lot more hesitancy, almost kind of like out of this obligation because the other person's just simply always around. Notably, that song also ends with the phrase "it took so long to see you becoming me." Well, part 2 has the narrator saying it almost as a form of like seeking comfort from this person. Part 1 begins with a much slower, almost like Harlequin feel to it, while part 2 slowly builds into the lines, "Soon I'll forget you, and you will me too. All children will decompose to decompose, decompose, decompose." So clearly there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Could you kind of clarify what's going on between these two figures and why it seems to feel so important just for the rest of the record?
Um, that's okay. I'm gonna try to
It's
I
multi-part.
yeah, I need to like try to keep this not into a full-on rant, because but okay, so um I'll start with explaining "I Don't Speak." It's like that song is the first verse of the song, so like the first two lines, I guess: "I don't speak, so speak to me closely, I'll try to keep eyes from drifting asleep."
Mhm.
um the, those lines are sort of disconnected from the rest of the song, because those two lines, and I think it is a bit confusing, and I think I would have redone that if I did it now, but
Mhm.
um they are disconnected from the song because the "you" that I'm singing to, like the person I want to speak to me or whatever, is like, in this case it is an actual person, it's like a friend, and
Mhm.
someone who is there and just like, you know, yeah, just, speak to me or whatever. And then
Yeah.
but the thing is, the rest of the song, the "you" that I'm singing to is more like an embodiment of everything sort of, I guess, wrong, and like all the issues that I have going on or whatever. And so I'm like making all my problems and struggles, or
Oh,
that
okay.
sort of stuff, into like a person and something I can sing to and sing about.
Yeah.
um so
Okay.
so that's like what that song is about. It's just like sort of I guess mapping out and detailing uh my like I guess my experience with those feelings. And
Mhm.
so the last line of the song that you noted, "it took so long to see you becoming me," um that line is sort of
Mm.
like, it's not directly singing about a person, it's more just like uh sort of a line of giving up, and like being like, yeah, this is a part of me now. um
Mhm.
And then Speak to Me is a lot more anxious in the music, and is like a lot more fragmented in terms of the lyrics as well. um and and that's sort of the point, because like each of the verses are like little sort of pictures, I guess, that I'm trying to paint, and like scenes that I'm trying to paint. And the first verse, for example, is like setting the tone of like I guess an experience of like derealization or something that is like
Yeah.
um yeah, I think it's pretty obvious when you read it, but it's like it's much more anxious, and it's sort of like um revealing another side of me and of the feelings that I was feeling. And so that's sort of why it ties together with I Don't Speak, because like I Don't Speak is very lethargic and very sort of, like you said, it's sort of uh complacent, I guess.
Hmm.
And then Speak to Me, which is like a bit louder and sort of just like jumps from verse to chorus, from verse to chorus, and like it goes back and forth, and into like, you know, various parts and whatever. um
Hmm.
and 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 so the last two lines of the song that you noted as well, um you know, those two lines are the exact same melody as the chorus in I Don't Speak.
Hmm.
So that's sort of part of what ties them together. And I think in those two lines, the you that I'm singing about shifts back to the you that I was singing about in I Don't Speak.
Hmm.
Um, so it's like, um, so the very last line is like, it's sort of abstract, and I think I'm not entirely sure exactly what it means, but um, I
This is the
think,
decomposed part.
yeah, yeah. And it's like,
Mhm.
to me, I think there's both like a pessimistic and an optimistic way of looking at that line, because it's like recognizing that eventually I'll forget about all these problems and all these struggles. Um, but then after saying that, it like goes right back to the sort of uh, grotesqueness, if that's a word,
Mhm.
um, of of the song, of the rest of the rest of the song. That's like, yeah, I'll forget about all these problems, but you know, all this bad stuff will also happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like I'm sounding like super pretentious because I'm like a teenager going through these songs that I wrote, but it's like that's how I would explain it. And I hope I didn't sound too annoying.
No, not at all. I mean, you know, art to begin with is subjective, but especially when you're the one writing it, especially from a place of like just pain, or some kind of despair. Like it's pain specifically. No one ever really understands it unless it's happening to them at that moment. You know, because it's, again, it's all subjective. It all depends on what's happening to you. So finding ways to like kind of explain it like that, I think, is really cool. So, and not in this case pretentious. So
Thanks.
yeah. So well, the next track's the Fall Rope, follows up the two previous tracks. So again, some of the prettiest guitar that I've ever heard. Of the 18 phrases in the song, 9 of them are repeated. Again, with that sense of a weirdly sort of complacent, almost as if in shock kind of delivery. Um, is there any reason when you chose to repeat so much? How do you feel about how it follows up the previous tracks, both thematically and sonically?
um so about the follow-up and Speak to Me, there's just a small thing that I think is sort of cool, that I just want to say because I haven't really said it to anyone, but the part between the last verse of Speak to Me and the Your Roots Go Far and Deep part of Speak to Me, where it's like a guitar riff. I don't know if you've noticed, but I sing the chorus of the Fall Rope in the background there. I just think that's sort
Well,
of
that's
cool.
pretty.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
cool.
cool. Um,
I'll have to go
but
back and like listen closer to that.
yeah, it's sort of far back in the mix, but it's like I thought we just begun. But yeah, so the Fall Rope is sort of like the repeating nature of the lines that I'm singing. I don't know. I mean, partially, I think it's just because it like sounds natural. But
Yeah.
I think it's also like that song sort of like to me it sort of describes a sort of monotone and like repetitious. I don't know. Yeah,
Like
repetitious.
repetitive. Yeah.
Yeah, repetitive nature of um you know, whatever was going on at the time. So I think that's sort of part of it, but it's also, you know, also just because I think it felt natural in the song. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Those
and
kind of questions. I'm always curious because sometimes it could just be like an aspect of the songwriting, but it could be more. So that's cool.
yeah, yeah, and actually you asked about sonically as well, and I just wanted to uh, mention that, and I think it's sort of obvious, but I mean, part of the reason why I put the follow-up after Speak to Me is because, you know, Speak to Me gets so loud and it's so
Yeah.
long and whatever. So the follow-up is there sort of as a, I guess you could call it an interlude, but I wouldn't really call it an interlude, but it's just like some breathing space for the album. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought it might be too. But like I said, you never really know.
yeah.
I think it is a really good way to follow those up too, just because that guitar melody is so pretty and like laid back and just gives you a chance, like you said, to kind of like breathe after everything.
Mm.
Um, so after the pinches ending is one of the very few heavier points on the album, if you could call it that. And comparatively, it feels like a much more outwardly emotional response to the subject matter at hand. Again, as we were talking about before, a lot of the other songs are feel very complacent or not like not self-pity necessarily, but that kind of same vibe, I guess. Then the penultimate track, 1225, is again so much slower. There's this sort of like country like drawl almost in the guitar, and then the chorus of but I learned how to burn my hand. What I do is all that I am, amongst other lyrics of preachers scattered homes and searching for something that they'll never have. Again, as I said, the whole album teeters on sort of this almost romanticized, depressive complacency, and I feel very much that it leaves on that note as well.
Mm.
Did you feel that that changes or changed over the course of the album, in the contents of it when you were making it, how you feel about it now?
How do you mean? Do you mean like the sort of
The
depressive atmosphere of it, or?
Yeah, the sort of again that kind of like romanticized depressive complacency.
Um, I mean, I wouldn't call any of it like romanticized
Okay.
uh at all, because like the songs that I wrote are like very you know, they're what I had to write at the time.
Hmm.
And I mean it was only like a few months ago, but still it's uh like I like, because like I feel like I'm never really I've never been interested in like like if I write a happy song, then I'm writing a happy song because like it feels natural and it feels honest. I'm not
Mm,
so interested in like making music that feels dishonest to myself.
okay.
So like I understand how it's like listening to the album and reading the lyrics is like you can get the idea that it's like me like completely wallowing in my like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you know, and I mean to some degree it is, but it's like I think it was necessary for me to make and necessary to like deal with what I was feeling. So
Hmm.
like um yeah, like after the pinch, that big climax of that song is
Hmm.
like um a very like big peak of the album, and it's like sort of
Yeah.
to me it's like when the entire album has like been building up to that and it's like just like explodes. And then 1225 is and I definitely understand why like a lot of people sort of why that song maybe doesn't stand out so much to others and why they like maybe don't think it's a highlight or whatever.
Hmm.
Because it is like very slow and quiet and whatever, but um it's I think it has a very important place in the album, and it has a very important place for me. And it's just like it's like a bookend, and it's like after the explosion, uh just like this sense of realization coming back, of like reality creeping back. And that's also like the very last track that is just called Untitled is
Hmm.
it's just like this sort of distant sounds of people talking, and like and an ambient song that's like playing in the background. And I think that's sort of the complete bookend of the album, because it's like uh it's like in a very literal sense hearing like reality creeping back
Hmm.
after this album being like this really focused and like concentrated um view into uh you know what I was feeling and thinking at the time. And then like Untitled being like opening the door and going back to uh reality, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So my next question was going to be why you chose to end the album again with that ambient track, but you just kind of answered that. Um,
Mm.
I think I guess romanticized wasn't necessarily the right word. It was kind of just more of a way to bring up how it that again sort of depressive complacency is very present throughout that. Um, I think 1225 does also have work or does work really really well, especially after the pinch, as that, trying to think of the word, just kind of like as a follow up to after like you said, after that explosion of everything. Um,
Mm.
Again, since it does kind of build up to that point. Um, I don't know. I don't want to say that it feels cathartic necessarily, but it has that sense of like the rise and the fall, you know.
Mm.
So that's really cool. So those are all the questions that I have for you. This is your time to plug any social media that you have, any other links or music um, that you would like to direct people to, any news of stuff that you might be working on. Yeah.
um I have I have cassette tapes on my Bandcamp.
Mhm.
Uh, and if you live in Sweden or close to Sweden, then you can save money on shipping if you DM me, and I can personally send you a cassette tape, so you don't have to buy from the US. Uh, and that's really it. I don't have I actually I'm not gonna promise anything, but I have some stuff with the previous guest of this podcast, Gia. We have some stuff in the works together, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, other than that, it's yeah, that's it.
Cool. Well, all the links will be like on the screen and everything, as well as in the descriptions. You guys should go ahead and check out the album. I think it's really good. Obviously, which is why you were, here today. Again, you can grab them on their Bandcamp, or just pick up the album.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's all for today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.